This is NDTV. And you're watching NDTV Prime. In association with Micromax. Nothing like anything.
It's Hyundai's latest blockbuster, the Creta, but how does it compare to the new Maruti Suzuki S-Cross? Can India fast track to BS6 or Euro 6 emission norms? We're asking that question on CNB this week. It is a brand new episode of CNB. Thanks for joining us. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Partnkar. And yes, we've got that question answered for you on today's program, the one that so many of you have been asking. Sure, we already took the new Creta and we already pitted it against what's been the segment benchmark. That car is the Renault Duster, and the Duster has managed to retain its crown. But you do have this other car that's recently driven in, isn't it? And that's the S-Cross from Maruti Suzuki. They aren't exactly comparable because that one's a crossover, this one's a compact SUV. But to the buyer, does any of that ever matter? Of course not. Many of you are considering both these cars, so of course we're going to put them right against each other, head to head. Now on the S-Cross, you get two diesel options. There's the 1.3 and the 1.6 DDIS. On the Creta, you have two diesels, the 1.4 and the 1.6, and you also have a petrol option. And there is also an automatic on the 1.6 diesel, something the S-Cross doesn't have. Now, interesting fact, that car, the S-Cross, its bookings opened way back on the 18th of June. The bookings for the Creta opened on the 2nd of July, but the Creta arrived first in terms of its formal launch. That happened, and you got the prices. The more recent entrant is, of course, the S-Cross, which only came in August, and that's when you got to know its prices. I have gone on record to say both cars to me are a little bit overpriced, but the trivia I want to give you is even more interesting than that. 18th of June, so far, as of last Thursday, those are the official figures we have from Maruti Suzuki. 6,500 S-Cross bookings is what Maruti's taken in. On the Creta, bookings opened after that car, remember, 33,000 and counting. Do I have to tell you which one's the runaway hit? But we aren't going by just bookings, as they don't really give you the whole picture on how capable each vehicle is. When it comes to design, it's subjective, of course. The S-Cross does have a good-looking design with smart crossover proportions, and it offers a dash of premium character which no Maruti had before. But the Creta gets a bit more appeal in its looks with the SUV stance and the impressive face. The S-Cross has a marginally higher wheelbase than the Creta at 2600mm, meaning both vehicles offer generous space on the inside. The ground clearance on the Creta is slightly higher than the S-Cross's, and being an SUV, I guess it needs to be. On the inside, the S-Cross has the smarter cabin with the black treatment working for it. The Creta could have benefited from warmer beige tones, as the current palette is a bit dull and makes the cabin look smaller. Feature-wise, both are well loaded. The Hyundai Creta has three engine options, 1.4 litre and 1.6 diesel, and the 1.6 litre petrol. The 1.4 litre diesel comes mated to a 5-speed manual gearbox, while the 1.6 diesel has the 6-speed automatic and the 6-speed manual. The S-Cross comes with those two diesel engines like I mentioned, the 1.6 and the 1.3 DDIS, both mated to a 6-speed manual gearbox. Now Maruti really lucked out when it managed to strike a deal with Fiat for the sourcing of these engines, the multi-jet, what Maruti calls DDIS. Wow, I mean these engines just do everything right. You get the right kind of power, you get the right kind of torque delivery, and while the 1.6 is a little bit loud and clattery, it's loud and clattery in a kind of a nice way because it doesn't really bother you when you're driving the car. And where am I going with all of this? It's a gem of a motor. It's also mated really beautifully to the 6-speed manual gearbox, though I would have liked to see, more from a contemporary requirement point of view than anything else, an automatic as well, because it's not like Suzuki doesn't offer automatics in Europe as well with the same engine. But it is great that after all this waiting, we finally got this really nice, really fun 1.6 motor into the market as well. It's something Maruti should have done a long time ago. We can't really comment on the 1.3-litre diesel on the S-Cross because Maruti hasn't given it to us to drive yet, but we're hoping to get that variant soon on the show. With the Creta, it's the 1.6 that we've been driving, automatic in the past, and then the manual today. And there was more reason to smile behind the wheel this time. Now, the last time we had the Creta on the show, I remember telling you that the automatic, well, it's just really not a fun, exciting car to drive. The manual, by comparison, is miles ahead. It's a lot more fun, and the 6-speed gearbox, again, mated very nicely to this engine. It almost feels like it's a different engine altogether. That's how different the character you get on the manual gearbox. Now, having said all of that, what I want to also quickly highlight is that there is that little bit of a, I won't call it a dead zone, but it's like a boring zone that you seem to fall between about 1200 and 1600 RPM, and the turbocharger kicks in very consciously after that. Then the engine's character changes dramatically. Now on the S-Cross as well, you do have a bit of turbo lag, but it's overall just a more refined engine. It's also a little bit more punchy. And so given that, I would have to say that even though this as a package works very well, when you compare it to the S-Cross, that car just stays a little bit ahead. With a diesel automatic in its kitty, the Creta does offer a bit more choice to the consumer than the S-Cross. When you compare, the S-Cross drives more like a hatch as it sits lower. There is a touch of body roll by comparison on the Creta, though the Creta's ride quality and seating position are great. And then there is that one negative that both vehicles share. When the Creta was launched, Hyundai wasn't its usual aggressive self, and so the overpricing surprised many. But then Maruti Suzuki came and took things further downhill by pricing the S-Cross at inexplicably premium rates. Overall, the S-Cross does offer fairly good driving dynamics and looks to match, but its premiumness, especially in pricing, is its Achilles heel. So the Hyundai Creta wins this battle as the overall package, from features to engine options and delivering what buyers are craving for, SUV-ness coupled with comfort and convenience. It is certainly more promising than the S-Cross, and so expect the bookings to stay strong on this good-looking compact SUV. A lot of you have been asking me, what about the Ford EcoSport? So many of you have inboxed me on Facebook as well with that question. it isn't a comparable product to these cars or even the Renault Duster. Well, earlier it was very easy to say EcoSport or Duster, but now you've got so many more new products. That's a subcompact SUV. It is below 4 meters, and of course it therefore means it's got a smaller cabin. So please try and understand, it's not a fair comparison. Yes, the EcoSport remains better value than any of these other cars, and there is a rival coming, the TUV 300 from Mahindra, and also the updated Quanto from Mahindra, and then you'll finally have some proper rivals for the EcoSport. On that note, let's take a short break, and I'm back with plenty more. Now, eventually no verdict really matters. You're going to see lots of Cretas on the road very soon, so get used to seeing them. And well, it's in a sense then going to acquire benchmark status by default, isn't it? Welcome back to CNB. I'm still driving the Creta, but we're going to talk now about not products, but the engines that power them. There's been so much talk of late, especially about pollution levels in cities like Delhi. And even though there's so many factors, very often it's the automobile industry that gets blamed the most. So India already, by the way, has pretty tight emission norms. However, there's a lot of talk about India now leapfrogging to Euro 6 levels, what we are calling Bharat Stage 6. Is that feasible? Is it just about telling the industry, hey guys, let's start making different kinds of engines, different kind of emissions have to get regulated, or are there other factors as well, like fuel quality and availability of good fuel? Well, all of this was discussed recently by the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers at a conference in Delhi, and it's a very relevant question that's going to affect you and me as well. So we have a special report for you on it.
It's now official. India will switch from the current Bharat Stage 4 to Bharat Stage 5 emission norms in 2019 and transition to Stage 6 in 2023. Both of these deadlines are a year prior to what was planned in the auto fuel policy, thanks to the growing pollution problem. Also, the auto industry has been demanding. The government now agrees it is not technologically viable to skip Stage 5 and go directly to Bharat Stage 6. Currently, 38 major cities follow BS4 norms and the rest of the country follows BS3 norms. The government says it won't accept any delays in BS5 norm implementation and expects the auto industry to be ready by 2019.
You can shift from BS4 to 5 in a sequential manner. From 5 to 6 is a change in technology which takes place. You cannot be skipping levels when you shift from 4 to 5 to 6. It's not technically possible. That is the assessment that Road Transport Ministry, in consultation with the Ministry of Industries and representatives of the auto industry, we had a meeting and we came to this conclusion. That is being revisited, whether it's possible to compress the timelines further. We have had a look at it. Our experts tell us that this is not feasible, but we are open to any final decision in this matter. However, we believe that the timelines we have suggested are fairly comprehensive.
BS5, vehicles have to be fitted with a diesel particulate filter which needs to be optimized for Indian road conditions, and small cars will need redesign and re-engineering. Although the filter technology is available in Europe, it needs to be customized for Indian road conditions. And unlike Europe, low driving speeds in India means it is difficult to achieve temperatures of 600 degrees Celsius required to burn the soot in the filter, and it needs to be customized. In Bharat Stage 6, selective catalytic reduction technology is added to reduce oxides of nitrogen. When the exhaust is moving, an aqueous urea solution in a container is placed that contains ammonia and helps reduce the nitrogen. Given the complexities of testing both the technologies together in Indian road conditions over 6 to 7 lakh kilometers, Experts say a direct jump to BS6 is not a viable or safe option.
The challenge is, frankly, when you look at it from the industry perspective, all of us in the industry right now are investing crores of rupees. It's significant investment. We are doing that to get ready for Bharat Stage 4. And then we are essentially faced with a reality which says essentially you have 2 or 3 years of that technology before you got to upgrade it to Bharat Stage 5, and then about 4 years to upgrade to Bharat Stage 4. So the timelines from an industry perspective are very, very accelerated and stiff. So the technology challenges, the resource challenges, the talent challenges are going to be significant ones.
What is required is that these technologies should be recalibrated, adapted to the Indian conditions, very stringently tested and validated for the Indian environment, because our road conditions are different. Our driving cycles are totally different. And what works in Europe, if you just lift it and bring it here, may not work here. So that takes a lot of time, because it's almost 600,000 kilometers of testing that has to be done. And I think if you see the rest of the conference, a lot of people will tell you about why this kind of time is required to test and finally validate the vehicles and the technologies before they're actually made commercially available in India.
Reports suggest that the move from BS4 to BS5 is expected to result in a 30,000 to 50,000 rupee increase in the cost of diesel vehicles to recover the investment in R&D by auto companies. What is also encouraging is that the Road Transport Ministry is looking to set up a separate department to manage issues like emissions and safety. The industry also wants the government to formulate a policy to scrap old vehicles along with stricter norms for vehicle fitness, pollution checks and fuel quality.
That's on CNB this week, folks. Thanks for watching, and please join me next week. Wear your seatbelts, wear your helmets.